the psychology of people who always notice everything. Some people do not simply enter a room. They scan it, not in an obvious way, not in a dramatic way, not because they are trying to judge anyone, but before they even sit down, their mind has already started collecting information. Who looks tense? Who is quieter than usual? Who is smiling but not with their eyes? Who is pretending everything is fine? Who is avoiding eye contact? Who changed their tone? Who is angry but trying to hide it? Who is sad but hoping nobody notices? And most people in the room may not see anything unusual, but they do. They notice the small pause before someone answers. They notice the way a person says, "I'm fine," a little too quickly. They notice when the energy in a room shifts, even if nobody says anything. They notice when someone's laugh sounds forced. They notice when a message feels colder than usual. They notice when a person suddenly becomes distant. And sometimes they notice things they wish they did not notice. Because noticing everything can feel like a gift, but it can also feel like a burden. From the outside, people like this may look intuitive, sensitive, observant, emotionally intelligent, hard to fool, and sometimes they are. But psychologically, constantly noticing everything is not always just a personality trait. Sometimes it is a survival adaptation. Sometimes it is what happens when a person had to learn early that small changes in other people could mean something important. A different tone could mean conflict was coming. A change in facial expression could mean someone was upset. A door closing too loudly could mean the mood in the house was about to change. A silent dinner could mean danger. A parent's sigh could mean disappointment. A friend's short reply could mean rejection. So the brain learned to watch, to listen, to predict, to prepare. And over time, noticing became automatic. They did not choose to be hyper-aware. Their nervous system learned it. Because when you grow up around emotionally unpredictable people, you learn to study the room before the room studies you. You learn to read tone before words. You learn to notice mood before conversation. You learn to sense tension before it becomes visible. You learn to prepare emotionally before anything happens. And this can create a person who seems deeply perceptive. But underneath that perception, there is often a nervous system that is asking one question again and again. Am I safe here? That is the hidden psychology of people who always notice everything. They are not always trying to overthink. They are trying to understand what is happening before it hurts them. Because for them, details are not just details. Details are signals. A shift in someone's voice is not just a shift in voice. It might mean the person is annoyed. A delayed reply is not just a delayed reply. It might mean something changed. A different facial expression is not just a facial expression. It might mean rejection is coming. A quiet room is not just quiet. It might mean tension is building. Their mind connects small signs quickly, sometimes too quickly. And this is where the strength becomes complicated. Because being observant can help a person understand others deeply. They may notice when someone is uncomfortable before anyone else does. They may know when a friend needs support without being asked. They may feel when a conversation is becoming too heavy. They may recognize patterns in behavior that other people miss. They may sense when someone is lying, hiding pain, or forcing themselves to act okay. This can make them compassionate, can make them thoughtful, can make them careful with other people's feelings. It can make them the person others come to when they feel misunderstood. Because people who notice everything often understand what is not being said. They hear the sentence behind the sentence. They see the emotion behind the expression. They sense the loneliness behind the joke. They notice the sadness behind the, "I'm just tired." And because of that, they may become very good at emotionally taking care of others. They know when to change the subject. They know when to soften their voice. They know when to give space. They know when someone needs reassurance. They know when a person is pretending not to need anything. But there is a quiet cost to this. Because when your mind is constantly reading everyone else, it becomes difficult to rest inside yourself. You may be physically present in a room, but mentally you are working, tracking, analyzing, measuring, comparing, predicting, Was that tone different? Did I say something wrong? Are they upset with me? Why did their face change? Why did the room suddenly feel colder? Why are they quieter today? Should I fix this? Should I ask? Should I stay silent? Should I leave? This is not simple observation anymore. This is emotional surveillance. And for many people it is exhausting, because their brain does not know when to stop scanning. Even in calm situations, they may still look for what could go wrong. Even around safe people, they may still search for hidden signs of disappointment. Even when nobody is angry, they may still prepare for anger. Even when they are loved, they may still look for proof that love is fading. And this can make relationships difficult. Not because they do not care, but because they care so much that they notice every tiny shift. A partner becomes quiet, and their mind starts building a story. A friend takes longer to reply, and they wonder if they are being replaced. Someone says, "Okay," instead of "okay," and suddenly the whole nervous system wakes up. A person's expression changes for 1 second, and they replay it for hours. They may ask, "Are you mad at me?" And the other person may say, "No, why would you think that?" But inside they are thinking, "Because I felt something change." And maybe they did. Or maybe their nervous system recognized an old pattern from a different situation. That is one of the hardest parts. People who always notice everything are not always wrong. But they are not always right either. Sometimes they are reading the present. And sometimes they are reading the past. Sometimes the room really is tense. And sometimes their body remembers tension from years ago. Sometimes someone really is upset. And sometimes the brain is trying to protect them from a pain that has already happened before. This is why being highly observant can feel confusing, because it can be difficult to separate intuition from anxiety. Intuition is calm. Anxiety is urgent. Intuition says, "Something feels off. Pay attention." Anxiety says, "Something is wrong. Fix it now." Intuition gives information. Anxiety demands certainty. Intuition notices. Anxiety spirals. And people who always notice everything often live somewhere between the two. They may have real emotional intelligence, but they may also have emotional hypervigilance. Hypervigilance means the nervous system stays alert for possible danger, even when danger is not clearly present. And in emotional terms, this can look like constantly monitoring people's moods, not because you want control, but because unpredictability once felt unsafe. Maybe you grew up in a home where people's emotions changed quickly. Maybe you had to guess what version of someone you were going to get that day. Maybe affection was inconsistent. Maybe criticism came suddenly. Maybe silence meant punishment. Maybe you were expected to manage adult emotions before you understood your own. So you became good at noticing. Too good. You learned to detect disappointment before it was spoken. You learned to sense irritation before it became anger. You learned to adjust yourself quickly. You learned to become smaller, quieter, funnier, more useful, more agreeable, depending on what the room required. And maybe people praised you for it. They called you mature. They called you responsible. They called you thoughtful. They called you easy to be around. But they did not always see the cost. They did not see how much of your personality was actually adaptation. They did not see that your calmness came from calculation. They did not see that your kindness sometimes came from fear. They did not see that your ability to read the room came from never being allowed to ignore the room. And now, as an adult, you may still carry that pattern. You may still walk into spaces and immediately ask yourself what everyone needs from you. Who needs comfort? Who needs distance? Who needs approval? Who needs you to act normal? Who might be upset? Who might reject you? Who might change? And this is why people who notice everything often struggle with simply existing. Because they are rarely just being. They are managing impressions, managing emotions, managing possible reactions, managing the invisible atmosphere around them. They may become the emotional thermostat in every room. If someone feels cold, they warm the room. If someone feels tense, they soften the room. If someone feels upset, they take responsibility. If someone becomes distant, they start searching for what they did wrong. But here is something important. Not every mood in the room belongs to you. Not every silence is your fault. Not every shift in someone's energy is a problem you are supposed to solve. Someone can be tired without being angry at you. Someone can be quiet without rejecting you. Someone can be stressed without you needing to fix it. Someone can have an emotion without making you responsible for it. And for people who always notice everything, this can be a difficult lesson. Because noticing often creates the illusion of responsibility. You feel it, so you think you must do something about it. You sense discomfort, so you think you must remove it. You see sadness, so you think you must heal it. You detect distance, so you think you must chase closeness. But awareness is not the same as obligation. You can notice someone's mood without absorbing it. You can care about someone's feelings without becoming responsible for regulating them. You can sense tension without immediately blaming yourself. You can be perceptive without being permanently on duty. This is where healing begins. Not by becoming less sensitive, but by becoming safer inside your sensitivity. Because the goal is not to stop noticing. Your ability to notice can be beautiful, can help you love deeply, can help you create meaningful work. It can help you understand people with rare precision, can help you recognize truth beneath performance. It can help you be present with others in a way many people are not. But your sensitivity should not have to cost you your peace. You do not have to investigate every emotional shift. You do not have to decode every pause. You do not have to turn every facial expression into evidence. You do not have to prepare for abandonment every time someone's tone changes. You do not have to live like love is a room you must constantly monitor in order not to lose it. Sometimes the work is learning to pause before interpreting. To ask, what else could this mean? Maybe they are tired. Maybe they are distracted. Maybe they are dealing with something private. Maybe their tone has nothing to do with me. Maybe I do not have enough information yet. Maybe my body is reacting to an old fear. This one question can create space. And space is important, because anxiety moves fast. It wants an answer immediately. It wants certainty now. It wants reassurance now. It wants to fix the discomfort now. But healing often asks you to slow down, to notice the feeling without obeying it, to recognize the signal without turning it into a story, to let your nervous system learn that uncertainty is uncomfortable, but not always dangerous. For people who notice everything, this can feel almost unnatural at first. Because their mind is used to working hard. It is used to connecting dots. It is used to preparing explanations. It is used to protecting them from emotional surprises. So when they try to relax, the brain may resist. It may say, but what if something is wrong? And the healing response is not, nothing is wrong, because sometimes something might be wrong. The healing response is, if something is wrong, I can handle it when it becomes clear. I do not need to suffer in advance. That is a powerful shift, because people who notice everything often suffer before anything happens. They feel the imagined rejection before rejection occurs. They feel the possible conflict before conflict begins. They feel the emotional abandonment before anyone leaves. They feel responsible for pain that has not even been expressed. And this can make life feel heavier than it needs to be, because they are not only living the present moment. They are living every possible emotional outcome their brain can predict. But your sensitivity was never supposed to become a prison. It may have started as protection. It may have helped you survive certain environments. It may have helped you avoid conflict. It may have helped you understand people who were not clear with you. It may have helped you stay emotionally prepared. But what protects you in one season can exhaust you in another. The same awareness that once kept you safe can later keep you anxious. The same ability to read people can make it hard to trust people. The same sensitivity that helped you survive emotional unpredictability can make calmness feel suspicious. Because when peace is unfamiliar, the nervous system may search for danger inside peace. It may think, it is too quiet. Something must be wrong. But sometimes, quiet is just quiet. Sometimes, calm is not the silence before conflict. Sometimes calm is simply calm. And you are allowed to experience it without scanning for the moment it will disappear. You are allowed to sit in a room without becoming responsible for the room. You are allowed to receive love without constantly checking whether it is still there. You are allowed to let other people have moods without making those moods your assignment. You are allowed to be observant and still rest. And maybe this is the deeper truth about people who always notice everything. They are not too sensitive. They are often people whose sensitivity became trained by experience. They learned to see what others ignored. They learned to hear what others did not say. They learned to feel changes before anyone explained them. And that made them wise in some ways, but tired in others. Because when you always notice everything, you can forget to notice yourself. You notice when someone else is uncomfortable. But do you notice when you are exhausted? You notice when someone else needs reassurance. But do you notice when you need peace? You notice when someone else is pulling away. But do you notice when you are abandoning yourself to chase them? You notice every small change in others. But do you notice the way your own body tightens? The way your breathing changes? The way your stomach drops? The way your mind starts racing? The way you leave yourself in order to monitor someone else? That is where your attention needs to back to you. Because your nervous system deserves care too. Not just other people's emotions. Not just other people's comfort. Not just other people's reactions. You, the person who has been watching everything for so long. The person who learned to be careful. The person who learned to read silence. The person who learned to predict moods. The person who learned to survive by noticing. You deserve to know that you do not have to earn safety by staying alert all the time. You do not have to earn love by being emotionally useful. You do not have to prevent every conflict. You do not have to detect every disappointment before it arrives. You do not have to be the first person to sense pain and the first person to fix it. Sometimes you can simply be present, not performing, not scanning, not decoding, not preparing, just present. And when your mind starts searching for what is wrong, you can gently remind yourself, I am noticing a feeling. I do not have to turn it into a fact. I am sensing a shift. I do not have to blame myself. I can ask instead of assume. I can wait for clarity instead of chasing certainty. I can care without carrying everything. Because the goal is not to become unaware. The goal is to become free. Free to notice without panicking. Free to understand without absorbing. Free to love without monitoring. Free to be sensitive without being controlled by every signal. Free to walk into a room and not immediately become responsible for everyone inside it. And maybe one day, the person who always noticed everything will finally notice something new. That not every silence is dangerous. Not every pause is rejection. Not every mood is a message. Not every distance is abandonment. Not every change means something is about to hurt. Sometimes people are just people. Sometimes rooms are just rooms. Sometimes quiet is safe. Sometimes you are allowed to stop scanning. And maybe the most healing moment is not when you stop being observant. Maybe it is when your body finally understands. I can notice what is happening and still be safe.